Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of Deadgrl, Decades with Deadgrl. I keep saying it the wrong way. Whatever. Anyways, today's video is all about the 60s. We are beginning our trek into the 60s, and it is my favorite era of, that is where I mentioned this in the last video. Between the 60s and the 90s, that's where my music knowledge really lies. It is my favorite. The rich history, the music, the guitar solo, you know what I mean? We're gonna get to so many good music, so many good songs, I should say. The 60s itself, there's so many songs that I love and want to talk about. It's probably going to be broken up between perhaps 5 to 8 parts, but to be TBD. If you enjoy this video though, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, check out all of my links down below if you would like to see any more of me or support the channel any further. Part 1 of this did get copywritten and blocked, so I'm going to try and not use so much of the song. I really wanted to just share music with you guys, and I really hate that my last video got flagged. So I'm gonna try, I know it's because I know what I did wrong, but I will take the fault there. I just really want to share all this music with you. Let me know if I don't personally use Spotify, I use Apple Music, but let me know if you would like me to make a music playlist for all the songs that I mention in this series. I thought about doing that. I just don't know how many people have Apple Music. Anyways, let's start off with the first song on this list, the first song to kick off the 60s, and Crazy by Patsy Cline from 1961.
Crazy, I'm crazy for...
This song was originally performed by Willie Nelson, and it is considered a country music standard. And we did get a cover by Home Free a little while ago, and I absolutely love, once again, how all of the music, it just comes full circle, and you guys know I love a full circle moment. This song, Crazy by Patsy Cline, became one of the most played jukebox songs in the 90s, and I feel like perhaps there was a lot of divorce going on. I did grow up, I could be wrong, I did grow up with my mom playing this song and singing this song a lot, and there is something about hearing Patsy Cline's voice and what they captured in that song. You can just genuinely feel the emotion portrayed, and it's so heartbreakingly beautiful. Because of this song and one of her other most popular songs and an amazing song, I Fall to Pieces, because of these songs, Patsy Cline quickly became one of Billboard's favorite country artists in 1961. She was one of the first female favorite country artists, I should add. Willie Nelson did state that Patsy Cline's version of this is his most favorite version to this day, and that her version, her cover, is done with delicacy, soul, and perfect dictation. Other covers include Linda Ronstadt, Leanne Rimes, Home Free, like I mentioned, and because I am a horror girly and I have to tie everything back to horror, there is a cover by the band Kidney Thieves in The Bride of Chucky. And of course I had to mention that. Alright, moving on to, I grew up watching the Monkees TV show. I very much grew, this is what I mean when I say my knowledge for music really does start with the 60s, because I was just so ingrained in this era of music so early on in my life, with my family always being so musical and playing this incredible music. So today we're going to talk about The Last Train to Clarksville by the Monkees from 1966. And this does really kind of hit me in the feels, because this was one of the last songs that I played from my meme before she passed away. It was one of her favorite songs of all time.
I'll meet you at the station. You can be here by 4:30.
But like I said, I grew up listening to this music and this song, and I never understood the meaning of the song really until I did my little deep dive. I've always loved the upbeat song. Like when you hear this song, you kind of like, last train to Clarksville. Like you really just want to, it's a really fun song. And the lyrics do go, take the last train to Clarksville and I'll meet you at the station. And I genuinely always thought this was just about like watching the TV show for the Monkees. I just thought that this was about them like meeting and taking the last train from Clarksville to go hang out somewhere, like that was what I took away from this song. However, the song does feel like it's more rooted in despair because the song does tell a story about a man telling a woman to meet him before he takes the last train from Clarksville to Clarksville, the last train to Clarksville, before he leaves, possibly forever. There was no explicit, they never explicitly tied this song to being a war song. However, the lyric, the last line, and I don't know if I'm ever coming home, is a reference to a soldier leaving for the Vietnam War. And that's the thing about like this era of music is some of the songs feel like they could have a double meaning, but we are just off of like all of this despair, all of this war, and we're really channeling, the feeling into music. All right, at number 3 here, let's talk about one of my favorite songs of all time, and Summer Wine by Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood from 1966.
My summer wine is really made.
I actually first discovered this song when Villa Vallo from the band Him covered this song with Natalia Avalon, and it was such a beautiful, rich, just the cover of this song, the voices together are so, they mesh and they blend so well. But when you go back and listen to the original, you can see where the influence and the inspiration came from for the rich, sultry, but almost like, I don't know, you get lost in the vocals for this song, and it's so beautiful. However, once again, we have a song with a story, and this song does tell a story of a man who meets a woman and she sees that he has silver spurs that could be worth money. So they drink, they do what adults do, and she robs him blind. And that's the story. And you know what? You go, girl. I just genuinely love a song with a story, and we will see more of that coming up. At number 4, we have For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield, another song from 1966. I feel like a lot of people know this song for the line, "Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down." And I feel like just saying that, you probably know what song I'm talking about. The song, once again, the vibe of the song is immaculate. There's something happening. It's so vibey. However, this song was always considered an anti-war song and was actually written in, I would say, in correspondence with the Sunset Strip curfew riots in Los Angeles. Speaking of like a vibey time, they didn't want them to have a vibey time. The riots happened in November 1966, and speaking of the Monkees, the whole riot situation did spawn one of their songs called Daily Nightly, but the whole situation was also referred to as the hippie riots. Fun fact, Jack Nicholson and Peter Fonda were both at these riots and were both in handcuffs by police, in custody at these riots. Or at this riot, I should say. It did spawn for a little like it did last. But back to For What It's Worth, Stephen Stills, lead singer of Buffalo Springfield, recorded this song against the backdrop of the riots. My parents always told me that this song was a Vietnam War song, and that this song was because of the Vietnam War, and it felt really good to correct them. But it feels really good to to know the real meaning behind music, and you can more or less feel the feelings that were intended to be felt because you can connect a story to the song. Okay, moving on. I said in the last video that the 60s, now that we're in the 60s, there's going to be a lot of Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is one of my favorite bands of all time. When I was a little girl, my uncle, who is my greatest influence in music and movies, would take me to the park. I was under 5 years old, I know that. He would take me to the park, and if there was people around, he thought it was so funny to look at me and say, "All right, Ash, who's the best band in the world?" He was British. And I would say, "Pink Floyd." And he would go, "And what's the greatest song of all time?" And I would say, "Careful with that axe, Eugene." And I would always shake my hand, like my little finger. And that is like one of my fondest memories and one of my first memories of Pink Floyd. But we're not talking about "Careful with that axe, Eugene" yet. Today we are talking about "See Emily Play" from 1967.
See Emily play.
I mean, it was only a matter of time, before Pink Floyd made the list, and we are going to be talking so much. So this song was originally written and performed by the original lead singer of Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett, and this is the first song on Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Great album. This song was apparently, as recalled by Syd Barrett, about a woman named Emily who was found sleeping in the woods after taking a whole bunch of psychedelics. And if you listen to the song, like, you can tell it feels like you're listening to a song about psychedelics. Before I gush too much about it, I do like David Bowie is another one of my favorites. You will see down the road. David Bowie actually covered this song. That was in 1973, which was a couple of years later, and it was for his album Pin-Ups. But we'll get into more David Bowie, I promise, in this list. But I can't have a list about the 60s without talking about the Beatles. Let's talk about Strawberry Fields Forever.
Strawberry fields forever.
This song is also from 1967. When I was in high school, one of my best friends and I, we fixated on Across the Universe, the movie. If you know, you know. It's full of amazing Beatles music, and it just follows a story so heavily inspired by the Beatles and that era in the it's amazing. It's long, but it's so good. However, the Strawberry Fields Forever scene always stuck out with me the most. It, as you guys know, I do a lot of art. Something about mixing the music with, the scene, he's like pinning real strawberries to the canvas, and that always stuck with me, and it felt so like it had so many other meanings, and I think about that a lot. Maybe it's the artist in me that's like over critiquing things, but it was released as a double A-side single with the song Penny Lane, and John Lennon actually said that he based this song as a real-life childhood experience. It was based on him playing at Strawberry Field, which was a children's home for orphaned kids. But he also attributes this to being one of his this is his finest work with the Beatles, and you know what? It's a beautiful song. All right, we are almost done here on this list. We are at number 7 here, and one of my favorite songs for spooky season, "The Time of the Season" by the Zombies.
It's the time of the season.
This song is from 1968, and I love when music like this makes me think of Halloween, because every day is Halloween for me. This particular song became a memorable song and a memorable hit from the 60s psychedelic era. But speaking, like, I have to tie it back to horror somehow. Speaking of, this song is featured in The Conjuring, the first Conjuring, and Prom Night. Eminem actually sampled this for the song Rhyme or Reason, except for he changed the lyrics from what they originally are to what's your name, who's your daddy. Okay, this is the song that let's number 8 here. We're moving on. This next song is one of the songs that I was the most excited to talk about from the 60s. Let's talk about 1968's In-a-Gadda-da-Vida by Iron Butterfly. Speaking of 60s psychedelia, we have this 17-minute masterpiece. This song is absolutely wicked. There is a 2-minute radio edit, which I completely understand, but once again, tying it back to movies and stuff, the movie A Manhunter, which is a fantastic film from the 80s. There is an 8-minute version in that movie, and I remember watching it a little while ago, and I was like, oh, here we go. In 2009, this was named the 24th greatest rock song of all time. And during the writing process, I will say the lead singer and drummer got a little too tipsy on the red wine, if I will say. And when they were naming the song and coming up with the song, they were trying to say "In the Garden of Eden" so bad, just "In the Garden of Eden," and they couldn't get it out, and it just kept coming out "in-a-gadda-da-vida." The Incredible Bongo Band covered this song in 1973, and that version specifically went on to be sampled by the rapper Nas on Hip Hop Is Dead. I remember how crazy that was when that was released, but we'll get there, don't worry. Anyways, Slayer covered this song in 1987, and this song is featured in a 1995 episode of The Simpsons titled Bart Sells His Soul, in which Bart Simpson tricks Reverend Lovejoy's church into singing the song as an opening hymn by handing out sheet music titled "In the Garden of Eden" by Iron Butterfly. The church organist in the episode, an elderly woman, collapses after playing the entire song for 17 minutes, which I think is such a funny bit. I love The Simpsons. We're probably going to have a lot of Simpsons references throughout this series. All right, last 2 songs here. At number 9, we have Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash, and I'm so excited to talk about this. This also is from 1969, and it is one of my grandpa. It was like his favorite song. I used to cut his hair every other Sunday, and we would always listen to this song while I cut his hair.
Bill or George, any damn thing but Sue. I still ain't.
But I don't know if you guys knew that this song was actually written by Shel Silverstein. The song tells a story about a man who seeks revenge on his father for giving him a name that was not manly enough for him. Sue. If you guys remember, if you guys have ever watched Viva La Bam, Ryan Dunn wears a shirt that says "Boy Named Sue," like for so many episodes, and I've always wanted that shirt. If you guys have ever seen the movie Swingers, though, one of the characters is named Sue, and it's a nod to this song. And this is explained by another character saying his dad was a big Johnny Cash fan. I've just always thought that was a fun, silly song. My name is Sue. How do you do? And as promised, at number 10, we have David Bowie's Space Oddity from 1969. I have to have we're going to be talking, when I said we're going to be talking a lot about Pink Floyd, we're going to be doing a lot of Pink Floyd, a lot of Zeppelin, a lot of David Bowie.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
This was first released as a 7-inch single, and it was heavily inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey. Can you see my poster? It was also heavily inspired by David Bowie's feelings of isolation, which, I get it, we all lived through the pandemic. In 2013, the Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield actually covered this song in space, but changed the lyrics to reflect a safe return for him because he was on a return, like he was coming home soon. But the real song does tell a story about Major Tom and ground control letting him know that something has malfunctioned and his spacecraft is not working the way it should, but unfortunately he does not get this message. And it's only because either he was so in awe by being in outer space that he just wasn't paying attention, or just simply because he missed the call in general. So he remains in space in a tin can floating above the world, preparing for his lonely death. I hope David Bowie is sitting in a tin can above the world, watching over us. Anyways, that brings us to the end of this list. I already have number 2 ready to go, so you guys are going to be getting that probably sooner than later. I love this series. I love talking about music. I love exploring music in different genres and different styles of music, and putting new songs or older songs back on your radar. Like, I love exploring music with you, and I don't know, I'm so enthusiastic about this series and about just doing a deep dive on music. So I will see you guys so soon. Let me know what your favorite song was on this list. Sayonara, sucker.